Okay, I'm Hugo Lagercrantz. Can you hear? Is it good? Okay. I have experience as an chief editor for Acta Paediatrica since 2006. Before that, I was actually European editor for pediatric research, which is a very international journal, and also for a short while associate editor of Archives of Since Childhood, which is associated with British Medical Journal. Plagiarism is not only a problem for us, or it's a general problem. I mean, a lot of composers have plagiarized, stolen from others. And when I looked at this topic, I read that T.S. Eliot, one of his most famous poems, The Vast Land, was actually he stole a lot of lines from an unknown American poet, and also Martin Luther King, I Have a Dream, that has also someone else has written the similar speech before, and even the present Vice President of the United States, John Biden, he when he studied law at university, he actually was accused of plagiarism, and but anyway, he succeeded to become vice president anyway. Most of this information I got from Harvey Markowitz. He's a pediatrician, but has been editor-in-chief for Archives and also have been associated with British Medical Journal. I think this is more a repetition of what has been said before, so I don't think I need to repeat this. I mean, I suppose we can talk both about duplicates and plagiarism. And here they have looked on a number of papers or citations, and this is just a rough estimate of plagiarism, so 0.04%, and then 0.35% with shared authors, highly similar. So it's a duplication. The same author has written two papers and has taken a lot of paragraphs from one paper to the other. According to this study, there may be 3,500 plagiarized and 117,500 duplicate papers. So it's quite a lot. And this is the reference for this. So this is just an example, and sometimes you believe in when you publish something in a journal for example, in Africa or East Asia, that no one will discover that, but this is a very typical example of duplication, and it's actually the same study, and then maybe they have changed a little of the authors and the text. One of the authors is quite well established, so I don't know how guilty he was, but anyway, it's a little embarrassing. According to a paper in Science a few years ago, 60 papers identified authors of papers containing plagiarism, and 28% denied wrongdoing, 35% confessed. And the problem is also that co-authors sometimes are not aware. Maybe they don't read the paper carefully, and we are all familiar with maybe some professors who are co-authors on papers and they haven't done very much and they don't check for this. So 70% claim that they did not know they were cited as authors. So this has quite a lot of impact. This is just the original journal had an impact factor of 3.8 according to this study, but also the duplicate papers had a fairly reasonable high impact factor. So how to deal with this as an editor? There's a special committee on publications ethics. It's based in London, and they meet fairly often, maybe every second month, at least 4 or 5 times per year. And there are editors or sub-editors from Lancet and British Medical Journals and British Journal of Obstetrics. And we are also members of that, and I have been there a couple of times, but it's I don't go regularly. But in this committee, you can actually present problems when you have seen an example of fraud or plagiarism, and present that and hear the view. And as you have heard, we can also check the papers routinely with Authenticate. This is it's very easy, actually. I will show you a little later. One interesting question regarding thesis is self-plagiarism. How much of a paper can you recycle? And I mean, certainly methods, it's difficult to change the method from one paper to another, or in the thesis. And also, if you have a good expression or found very good wording for something, is it necessary to change the wording to make it maybe less precise? So I think self-plagiarism is okay for methods, but as said before, I think it's important to check mainly the introduction and the discussion, but also the results and the tables. I've seen that, for example, that someone is publishing the same tables or figures, but maybe they change a little the scales, etc. And but they publish essentially the same results in a little different way. In, for example, blood, an example I remember, and pediatric research, because they think, I mean, the idea is that they want to reach a more general public, but also the pediatricians. But that's, of course, very problematic, and that cannot be accepted. Then we usually communicate with the other journal, in this case Blood, and we told them, and they had to withdraw the paper or do a retraction. It's a problem for non-English speaking authors. I mean, if you're not so good in English, it's what you can do is that you collect phrases and try to make a hodgepodge of sentences and fragments, and you often see that. I'm not going to say from which country, I think you know, but as an editor, you should be concerned about that. But on the other hand, maybe it's an interesting paper, it's good results, and it's a really handicap that for example, I think it's easier for Swedes, but for example, if you belong to a completely different language group, it may be difficult, and this has to be solved in some way. Even if you do language revision, it's not so easy to check that. So how much can we accept for self-plagiarism, or how much can be recycled? And this is a paper in anesthesia and analgesia, and they accept 15 to 20%, maybe maximum 30%. This is quite low, actually. When we check papers, it's often 40% or something like that. But you have to filter it, so you exclude references or methods. And as you previous speaker said, it's not the quantity, it's the quality which is important. So how do we handle plagiarism? This is just a flow sheet. So if we can detect it in the manuscript, and if it's major overlap, we contact the authors, and he admits guilt, and then he has to reject, or she has to reject, we reject the manuscript, or he has to withdraw it. This is a recommendation from COPE. And if there's no response, then we contact the institution or the dean of the university. Sometimes it's a minor overlap, and then we tell the author, and they have to. We also discuss with the reviewer, and the overlapping material has to be removed, and then we can proceed. So it's a little similar as we discussed with the thesis, that you can proceed, but maybe there will be a delay. But these manuscripts have not been published. It's more problematic when the articles have been published or are in print. And if it's a major overlap, then we contact the author, and if he admits the plagiarism, he has to. We have to do a retraction, and which will be published in the journal. And these are you see these retractions. I remember, for example, Nobel Prize winner. She made a retraction in Nature fairly recently, and apparently it was not her major paper for the Nobel Prize, but apparently a PhD in her group had done some kind of fraud, and she was forced to do a retraction. But it was very embarrassing for her, actually. If it's a minor overlap, you contact the author, then you can just, maybe it's sufficient to publish an errata or a correction. So I think I just want to show you an example, if I succeed here, how it works. So So I just picked out a manuscript. I don't show you the authors, but this is okay. This I didn't suspect anything. I just took a random article, and as you can see, there's a 41% overlap. But when you then look at the details, you can see that 4% from the internet. Something pediatrics, and some biomedical central, and NCBI, what that is. So there's a cross-check with a number of sources, and mainly most of the sources is 1%, but it adds up to 41%. So when you do this, you have to filter. This is not filtered, so you have to check for reference list and maybe for the methods. So you just pick out the most interesting parts, as we said before, introduction and discussion. But as you can see, it's very easy to do this control, and we can do it automatically when we have the paper in our manuscripts. We have a manuscript central, and we can. It took me 5 minutes to pick up this, so it shouldn't be a problem. I think I stop here.